Welcome back. I'm David the Good. Now, let's say you plant a bunch of beans, and then what do you get? Well, at the end of 52 days, 58 days, depending on the variety, you get a ton of beans. That is, provided the bean beetles haven't eaten them, and that you did all right, and the bean fairy came and gave you great success with your bean harvest. You should get a bunch of beans at 50-something days. And then what are you gonna do? Well, hopefully you're going to preserve them somehow, can them, pickle them, or whatever else. But what if you really like fresh beans? What if you want beans for a longer season? Let's say you've got a little bit of lazy summer going on, you get your first huge amount of beans, and then it's over. And then no more beans. You just go, no more beans for the rest of the year, it's all over. I'm done, no more beans. Let's look at how you can extend your harvest for a longer period of time. I'm gonna plant some beans today, and I'm gonna talk to you about staggering your crops for longer term yields. These are lazy housewife beans, which are an heirloom variety that the Burpee Corporation introduced back in the late 1800s. These are a bush bean. Let's take a look at port. So we're gonna take these and we are gonna put them in a bed and talk about extending our harvest. It's really dry still. I wet this bed, but I'm gonna have to pour more water in. I like to give my plants lots of space. They do better, they consume less resources. There we go. I want to really soak, really soak. So I'm gonna soak water in right where I'm gonna be planting my beans. Beans are one of the really encouraging crops. If you can grow beans, you'll feel good about yourself. They're not that hard to grow. Really simple. If you want a really simple flower, plant zinnias. My Uncle Stuart said, zinnias are an encouraging plant. And it's really true. You get something pretty, you don't have to work that hard for it. All we're doing right now is planting our first bean bed. Remember, we want a continuous harvest, so if we just had this bed, we would end up with a bunch of beans, Lord willing, in less than 2 months coming in, and then we would be eating a whole bunch of beans all at once and giving them away or putting them in the freezer or whatever else, but we would be out of fresh beans. We would have no bean pods for the kids to come out and pick out of the gardens. So we're gonna plant this bed, and then I'm gonna tell you what you do next. I'm gonna plant your beans about an inch deep. They'll be happy there. this bed is now planted. So this is all full lazy housewife beans, and we're gonna wait. They're probably gonna come up in about a week, and then 50 something days, we've got beans. For about 2 weeks, these are gonna be producing beans, maybe up to a month. It depends on the variety. Some varieties go on for a couple of weeks. It's like suddenly it's all at once. And some of them you can pick, usually you can pick them for at least a month. So you're gonna get some consistent harvest, but you get a big blast all at once and then it kind of tails off and the plants give up. So 2 weeks to 4 weeks after this bed is planted, I need to go over here and plant this bed. If I want a continuous supply of lazy housewives, I gotta do this one next. So you're waiting. So just about the time this bed is tailing off, this bed is picking up. Now I could do this, depending on how long my growing season was, I could do this 4 times, maybe even 5 times. If you've got a mild spring and summer, you don't get any late frosts, all right? So beans don't like frost. So you wait until your last frost date, you plant your first bed of beans. You wait a couple of weeks, maybe a month, plant the next bed of beans. Maybe you really, really love beans. You want to grow beans all the way through the summer. All the way through the summer, every couple of weeks, put in another bed of beans. And now if your summer gets too hot, you may not have luck with beans. Maybe you get a whole ton of pest issues or something later in the summer. Just do it during the time when you can actually grow them. You know, look up your local extension office and find out what the bean planting dates are. Usually you'll find out it'll be like May through June, plant beans. And then maybe again in September you can get another harvest or a couple of harvests before it all freezes in the winter. So check out your planting dates and then plant through that window. Start at the very beginning of the window and make your last planting of beans at the end of that window, and then you're gonna have lots of beans. You can do this with a lot of different crops, provided your weather allows you to do it. Just plant real early. Sometimes I would plant before the last expected frost date in case we didn't get a late frost. And then I would plant in the middle, and then I might plant after. And you've got stuff coming in. You're kind of rolling along with nature. You're gonna make sure that you get beans no matter what happens. So that's another benefit of staggering. You might have a drought period of time that takes out some of your later beans, but you might have got a bunch of beans from the earlier beans when you were still getting spring rains or whatever else. So the idea is to just kind of time it out over time so you've got a continuous harvest coming in, and if you can dedicate bed space to it. I always have a problem with not having enough bed space. You have to keep digging beds and putting in more beans if you wanted to do it, but you can stagger over time and end up with harvests for a much longer period. And beans are one of those ones that's really easy to deal with because they produce consistently and they do it in a short enough period of time that you don't have to worry about going through the entire summer before you get a harvest and then maybe trying to figure out if you're going to survive before the last frost date. There's just a quick crash look at how to extend your harvest for a longer period of time. Thanks for watching. I'm David the Good.